Share streaming. All right. Testing. Live streaming. How do I add? Where? Okay. Is that sound? Gain. Nope. Keep that down a little bit. Right there. Midway. Testing. 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 All right. I don't know what to do. Let's see, I can get on my phone. I can see what's going on.
Hope you enjoy your visit from the Secret Service. Donald Trump's campaign manager just threatened me on social media. I'm not joking. In response to the immunity decision from the Supreme Court this morning, I said on Twitter, according to the Supreme Court, Biden can now send in SEAL Team 6 and take them all out. He can send in the military to take out Trump. He has immunity for official action. Trump's campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, by saying, expect a visit. Now, what do you think that means? Are they saying they're going to send their guys to my house to try to keep me quiet so I won't advocate against their candidate? Is that what he's implying here? Trump said he wants to be a dictator on day one. This really is the perfect summary of the Trump campaign. Their candidate is so terrible that they have to resort to tactics like this. A con man, a fraud, and a conviction. Leave a like in this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe or follow down below for more daily news. Yeah, we all know you're paid by the Biden administration, but this is what real panic looks like. Hope you enjoy your visit from the Secret Service. Donald Trump's campaign.
This guy is paid by the Biden campaign.
In response to the immunity decision from the Supreme Court this morning, I said on Twitter, according to the Supreme Court, Biden can now send in SEAL Team 6 to take them all out. He can send in the military to take out Trump. He has immunity for official acts now. Trump's campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, responded to me by saying, expect a visit. Now, what do you think that means? Are they saying they're going to send their guys to my house to try to keep me quiet so I won't advocate against their candidate? Is that what he's implying here? Trump said he wants to be a dictator on day one. This really is the perfect summary of the Trump campaign. Their candidate is so terrible that they have to resort to tactics like this. I won't be quiet. We see Donald Trump for what he is. A con man, a fraud, and a convicted felon. Make sure you leave a like in this video. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that gets people out to shoot at you.
And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it. We believe in law and order, but you...
come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to give it if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just not heard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing as anything happened. They learned more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
Assassination.
I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
What's the security failing?
The president stopping short of calling this an assassination attempt, but noting that he plans to talk to Donald Trump.
What a dirtbag.
Understanding is the president is doing well. President Biden speaking out against the scourge of political violence, saying there's no room for this. And as we had reported a few moments ago, the Biden campaign moved.
That was from Raven Roof Defense. Dash gang dash flies on Viva. The witness saw the shooter get shot. Deputy saw the burying the phone. So, yeah, we got the go. That was very interesting. Gang, we saw the ginger. Skinnicker. Oh yeah, no, we're gonna bring this motherfucker up right now. I'm sorry what that is swearing. This motherfucking piece of shit. I'm calling her that because that's what she is, and not in the sense that let her live her own life. Let this woman grow to be 95, see her looks fade, and see that when you don't have a pretty face as a demonic soul, the world is a lot less kind to you. Remember this? I remember this. I didn't share the bloody scream because I'm an idiot. I remember this. Here, let me zoom in. Here's a Satan incarnate. The only reason I'm inclined looks like Dexter's sister out of Dexter, who I happen to have something television crush on because she looks like my wife. This is
looks like my wife. She's the most beautiful woman on earth. She is my wife. That's my wife. Next sister is not my wife. She's the second most. Inclined to like. Do you remember this? Oh, go down here. Remember when they tried to convince us 8645 was not a call to violence on Trump? Oh, they just wanted to nix him from the menu. These lying, demonic, violence-inciting pieces of shit. There's Gretchen Whitmer. What's she trending at in terms of VP candidates? Sharing a screen, boomer. I get the Bill, thank you. Chet, thank you. Who else? Yen. Shut the fuck up. So I got a picture from Yen, who is a photographer out of, and he's showing me, and I don't know if it's true. Let me just remove this for a second. This is apparently where Trump, apparently based on this photo, who posted it, got shot in the chest but was wearing a bullet. I was just watching Point Break, and actually Heat, now that I mention it. And when Keanu Reeves gets shot in the chest when he's robbing the bank, when he's been sucked into the cult. And, you know, that's it. But no, of course, 8645. When Gretchen Whitmer put 8645, 8 miles out, 6 feet under, or 8 miles, or 8 by 6, 45. Kill Trump. That's what that motherfucker said right there. That's what Gretchen Whitmer was saying in that video. The lying scoundrel piece of crap who claims to have been the victim of a Fedsurrection kidnapping was out promoting the assassination of Donald Trump, and then Wikipedia might have gone and re-edited with 86 words. Oh, it doesn't mean that just means kill him. 8 miles out, 6 feet deep. That's what it was. That scum of the earth. Who could have foreseen this happening? Oh, check. Might have been wrong about the guy who showed up. Bottom line, someone freaking bleachers who showed up to it. And I'm not trying to hold anybody to any of this. The bottom line, whoever was shot in the bleachers showed up. Here's the thing that I'm not showing anybody. Photos have been leaked of the alleged shooter that tried to kill Trump. I'm not showing anybody this picture. You go look for it on Dom Blucher, and I don't know if it's real. It doesn't look like the individual that was alleged to have posted the video saying justice is coming. It looks much thinner than the guy in the video. So, holy hell, this is just like the fog of war, the influx of information. I can't stop getting tweets or texts or. Greg Bolden, who I had on the channel, had me on his channel. Video appears to show Secret Service snipers tracking and shooting and failing to take him out before he started shooting. Oh, that would be wild, actually. Real Greg Bolden. We've watched. That's Greg Bolden. So now I'm thinking maybe some of the shots that we might have were not the shooter, but were the Secret Service trying to take him out. Shooter gets a few shots off, panics, doesn't get a shot going. That's interesting. The bottom line is that we're not jumping to any conclusions that are going to wrongly incriminate people who are not. They're fog of war. So those shots might have been the snipers trying to get him. Dude realizes he's under fire, fires off a bunch of shots, totally inaccurate, misses his target, has his brains blown out, but takes out an innocent spectator. From someone else who I will not mention because I'm not sure if they want me to, the assassin thing, the assassin missing saved this nation. If Trump had been killed, there's no limit to the unrest of the cause. Election day wouldn't exist in November. P.S. It wasn't glass because if glass shattered, it wouldn't be in just one spot. Yeah. Here, got this one. You're not sharing this. That doesn't look too bad. If you need a subject matter expert, you want to pop on? Question mark. Let me see if on in a second. My mother says, Trump said it here. Mother, that's what my wife just sent me is, thank you. That's what my wife texted me. It's a Trump post. This is Trump on truth. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Baldwin, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong. I knew immediately in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and a bullet ripping through my skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized that was happening. Then what was happening, God bless America. Okay. Some info that I got via text. Mostly peaceful assassination attempt. Yep, I'm live right now. All right. Eva, I just tweeted you a video of the counter sniper. My notifications are not turned on Twitter, so it's not that I don't see it, but
Who is the shooter?
I think I might. Let me see if I can. Hold on like this. Okay. I know that I see your. There you go. I know that. Okay, dude. DM. I just texted him and Dan. DM. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna get this text out right. DM. Thank you. Okay, so I do that. I just DM'd you. I hope I can get a response from you. Are these people claiming staged going to get sued like Alex? I don't think they should. I mean, I don't even care. They're just like LBJ but retarded. Using Google Maps, the shot was about 600 yards in a moderately difficult shot with a 308 I guess that means Winchester, but with a better cartridge, much easier with something like a 6.5 Creed, or easier with a Magnum. Based on follow-up. Nope, hell nope. Dude, I'm gonna go ahead and trust you on that. I'm a ginger, you style fuck. I don't believe the ginger stuff. It's just the joke, and you know you have to make it when you see a ginger. Presidential immunity, good shit, well trained. Look up. Seize the day. Remember, Democrat politicians bailed out Antifa members, including Kamala. If it is an Antifa, they can't distance themselves too far. It's over. I can't help thinking divine intervention. The ear. Amazing. It's amazing. I'm just like this. Like it goes there. Can you play Trudeau's? Okay, fine. Now let me just see something going on back into the Viva Barnes Law, because I got distracted by Gretchen Satan Whitmer. We've got Sec 808. Just tell him he needs Secret Service because Biden said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye, not the crosshairs, the bullseye. I'm not seeing a video. This is JR83 because I'm an idiot. Big Bad Bob, $3. Will the national news media blame Biden for inciting an assassination since he recently said it's time to put a bullseye on Trump? They don't. They did that to Trump with the civilian. Yeah, he said fight like. Excuse me. He said fight like hell. That's fine. That's impeachment. Put a bullseye on it. Say bullseye. Bullseye. Big Bad Bob, thank you. Denise Antu, Cantor posted on X. Yeah, I'm not. Denise Antu, present. Okay, we just got his Truth social post. Thank you. Oops, he says we didn't see both videos you tried to show us. I think I fixed that. I'm an idiot. I apologize. I want to pretend that I do that just so I can get more engagement in the chat participating. Boops, he says Trump's statement said it was a gunshot to his ear. S. Ren, Viva. dehumanize it, demonize it. This is the outcome. Yes, but I also have to be careful because I call Trudeau Hitler-esque, and I'm not doing that to dehumanize it to the point of warranting or justifying or encouraging assassination. And so I have to make sure not to have that double standard when it comes to my own rhetoric. I just know that I vehemently and persistently condemn violence because that's what they want. Kenneth Vogel of the New York Times tweeted that Biden told donors in a private phone call this afternoon that it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. Ali Michael. If it's anonymous, if it's a report, I'd rather see the tweet or the comment. Michigan Winter's Days, the $1 fucking rage. My first reaction was, holy fuck, they actually tried it, deep state. So many questions. Damn. I'm lucky that this is what I'm doing. I can focus on this. Jog in first. Oh, check it out. Think on my chest. Ingrown hair, pimple on my body, disgusting. Get old, you turn into disgusting, decrepit, whatever. Okay, so JR, this is allegedly the spot of the shooter. If true, this is a clear failure of security. The spots are clearly covered, these spots are clearly covered, even at sporting events. This I can remember to bring up right now. Ban. So let me see something. Yeah, something is definitely different in StreamYard today because ordinarily it automatically comes up and now it doesn't. So that's the roof, the rough. I don't know where the event. Where's the event? Oh, Trump. Okay, this is before the event. I see. Why cover roofs? It's my first day. Okay, so we're scrolling that out. Thank you very much. That was from a JRB83. DTQC reminds me of the first female Quebec PM. Oh yeah, Pauline Matt.
Their paths converge once more as they prepare for global glory.
Shooter firing multiple shots from an elevated position outside of the rally venue, which would synchronize with some of the things we've been picking up on social media about a man dead on top of a roof outside of the rally.
Yeah, and witnesses who were there on the scene have talked with our Alexis McAdams. I want to read two from Ivanka Trump saying, "Thank you for your love and prayers for my father and for other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to the Secret Service and all the other law enforcement officers for their quick and decisive actions today. I continue to pray for our country. I love you, Dad, today and always."
Wow. Jason Chaffetz, quickly to you. I've got some more information, but go ahead, Jason.
This is a catastrophic failure of the United States Secret Service. The men and women who jumped on the former president, got in between him and a would-be shooter, they're heroes. But if there was a person with a gun within proximity to take down the president of the United States, those people have got to be held accountable. They should be fired. There is no reason that a gun should be within close proximity that can shoot a former president of the United States. That's why we have the Secret Service, and they failed us today. They failed us.
Jason, thank you. Jake Gibson reports the ID is not confirmed. Federal law sources, enforcement sources tell us the shooter's identity is still unconfirmed, and they're working on it. But first reports suggest the shooter was not carrying ID. So that is the initial report about the potential identity of the shooter. Shannon, you've got Fox News Sunday tomorrow morning. You will be on this story then. And thank you for your excellent work tonight.
You too, my
All
friend.
right, here's Sean.
And welcome to Hannity, and this is a Fox News alert. Today, the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was the target of an apparent assassination attempt. One innocent attendee is now dead. President Trump, we are told, is alive and well and now in a safe location. The shooter, meanwhile, has been killed by U.S. Secret Service. And just breaking moments ago, President Trump's first reaction on Truth Social, quote, I want to thank the U.S. Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Now, nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. He said, I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong, in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. According to the Secret Service tonight, quote, during former President Trump's campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, on the evening of July 13th at approximately 6:15 p.m., a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. U.S. Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. U.S. Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and former President Trump is safe. One spectator was killed. 2 spectators were critically injured. This incident is currently under investigation. The Secret Service has notified the FBI, and in case you missed it, here's what went down just a few hours ago with Sal. Take a listen, take a look.
Take a look at what happened. Let me get my shoes. Hold on, get that. So get moved to What's up?
All right, we have full, complete news coverage all throughout the evening tonight. Joining us now with the very latest, live from Pennsylvania, Alexis McAdams. Alexis, what's the latest on the ground?
Hi, Sean. We'll be in there in that media area, the press area, watching the former president speak. He was just getting into immigration. The excitement was building. People were clapping and cheering, yelling, "Make America Great Again." And then you heard a series of loud pops. People really didn't even have time to react. Some people did hit the ground. Then we saw the Secret Service rush in. We're talking about the federal, the state, and local agencies doing everything they could as the former president then went down, Sean, right behind that podium. Coming back up a short time later after somebody yelled, the shooter is down with law enforcement, and on his ear you saw some blood. So that happened so quickly. People came out here to support the former president. They were excited to see him, and then they left with this horrible tragedy. Take a look here in this pan, John. You can see what's going on in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's cleared out now, but for hours after that shooting, people were stuck in traffic trying to get out because it is an active crime scene. So we're trying to piece this all together, and that includes talking to witnesses like Brandon, who you said you were up there pretty close to where the former president was speaking. What exactly did you hear, and what did you see?
We're all just there, looking up at the screen that he has up, and I heard a loud pop, and I thought it was like the speaker cracking. And we heard another one, and then people started screaming, and so we all just hit the ground, and I started looking around as to what was going on, and I saw one of the Secret Service guys. He was firing back. There was probably 6-7 shots total, maybe. And then I woke up in the bleachers, and people were just screaming and crying, and there's just blood everywhere. One of the guys got hit, and
knowing that somebody was hit, so now we know. Obviously, the former president had a grazer into his ear. He's expected to be, he'll be okay, he says. But to know somebody who came to this Trump rally just like you, that was sitting right by you, doesn't get to go home tonight with their family. You said you were sitting there and you saw the man who was shot, actually near his family, and they were crying. What else? You went through the scene a little bit. What did you see? It sounded kind of gruesome.
yeah, there was blood all over his family members. There was a guy up there trying to administer CPR. It all happened so quick. Like, still trying to process everything. And we're just all down on the ground, and people down on the ground are crying. We don't know what to do. People are just screaming and crying. And then all of a sudden, people start standing up, and we start walking out. And we looked on top of the AGR building, and there was Secret Service up there. They were standing around what we now know was the shooter. At that time, we really didn't know where it was coming from.
And to set this up, Sean, so when we were inside there, we're in the back with the media, and then when you could see the former president wasn't too far from us speaking, this was all happening to his right. So this AGR building that we're talking about is the American Glass Research Building. That's at like 68th and Whitestown here in Butler, so that's just outside of the ground. So it wasn't like this person entered, because we've been talking about safety and security and the Secret Service doing those pat-downs and checking bags. According to what we know right now from witnesses and the police is that this person was on a rooftop of this AGR building, which is outside of those grounds. So then you saw the people kind of surround that building. And going back to that man, though, and his family, were people crying and were people running out after they saw someone was shot?
No one really started running. We just all kind of hit the ground, and people were yelling for paramedics and police to come. And there was probably 6 or 7 state troopers that just all of a sudden showed up out of nowhere, and they hauled him off the bleachers, and it was dead at that time.
Okay. Well, thanks for talking to us. I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad your family's okay. But I think most people are still in shock. Just trying to piece this all together. But it is important to point out as we look at kind of the layout of where the former president was when he was grazed by that bullet on his ear, and then goes down, where this shooter was, according to investigators, was up on that roof of the AGR building outside of the farm grounds. Sean.
Alexis Gray reporting. Let's go back to President Trump's statement on Truth Social. It pierced his upper right ear, is what he said. So what we're really talking about here is we're talking about maybe 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, and he was probably assassinated. That's how close this guy got from this rooftop. How far away was that rooftop where we believe the shooting took place?
Pretty close. I'm going to bring you back in a little bit because you know about the layout of this AGR building. I don't really know. How close is that AGR building to where former President Trump was standing?
It's several hundred feet away. It was directly behind where I would have been standing. So the bullets would have been coming from my back, just that way.
Yeah. And as you said, we're talking about 1 millimeter. To graze the former president's ear, and how many people possibly could have also been wounded here. We had heard that it sounded like from a Secret Service source that it sounded like there was a silencer on that gun because it sounded like muffled shots. And that's why some people at first were a little slow to react because you didn't know if it was fireworks. I think people thought the speaker blew, but it was a fun and exciting atmosphere. He was working the stage. It was a typical Trump rally. I think people do think about safety and security when you go into a huge event like this. And when there's so much tension around politics, people get a little bit worried for their safety. But nobody ever thought this was going to happen from the people we talked to, Sean.
Yeah, very clear to me as somebody who's been shooting since he's 10 years old. When I heard the sound over and over again, it was very clear to me that that was the sound of a gunshot. Selena Zito was on our air and confirmed that she had no doubt it was a gunshot. Now, obviously confirmed. Alexis, thank you. We'll check in with you later throughout the night tonight. Now, moments ago, we did hear from President Biden. He did condemn tonight's alleged assassination attempt. Take a look. Now, this campaign filled with nonstop vitriol, hysteria against Trump from both Joe Biden, many other Democrats. We're going to have plenty of time to get into that in the days and weeks ahead, and I'm sure that will be a passionate debate. First, now we go for more, the latest update, our own Peter Ducey. Peter, what's the latest where you are?
Sean, the latest is that President Biden says from Rehoboth Beach, where he's vacationing for the weekend, he does not know enough to judge whether or not this was an assassination attempt or not. He says he has an opinion about that, but he won't share it yet. The press pool that is traveling with him on this out-of-town trip has not been told that they can go home for the night. So it's possible we will hear from him again once more information is out there. It is possible that we will just get some more written information. The president says he is trying to get in touch with Donald Trump. I reached out to a White House official. It does not sound like that has happened yet. They're going to keep us posted. And President Biden, the big point that he was making while he was denouncing this action is he said Trump had a rally that should have been able to go off peacefully without any problem. He said the idea that there's political violence in America like this is just not appropriate. He's asking everyone to condemn it. A few minutes after this happened, I phoned a very high-ranking White House official to ask what exactly was going on at the White House, what the National Security Council might know about this, or what would be happening. And this official hadn't heard about it yet. And so this isn't the kind of thing where, even though it is such a potentially destabilizing political action, it's not like everybody at the White House just gets a buzz on their phone that it happened. They find out about this stuff the same way that we do. And we go to a lot of events like this. Trump as president, Trump as a candidate, Biden as president, Biden as a candidate. And it's very notable that they're saying now the shooter came from outside the perimeter, because to get in, everybody has to empty their pockets. You can't have a big bag. If you have a small bag, it gets searched by the Secret Service. Everybody's wanted, and then they go in. But typically, at an event like this, they do have, you've got the protective detail that you can see on the screen right now around Donald Trump. But there are many, many layers of security. There are state police. There will be a county SWAT team. There are others in the parking lot, on the roads outside, looking at something like a building with a sight line, it seems like, to the stage. And so that's a big part of the reason why there are already congressional requests to investigate the Secret Service response here. James Comer just sent out a statement that said he's already reached out to the Secret Service, asking the director to let them know exactly how this happened. So we might hear some more from President Biden. I also was in touch with some folks from the campaign. They're going to, for the time being, suspend all outgoing political communication from Wilmington. So anything nasty about Trump for the next couple of days, it sounds like it's going to come down to take down political ads that Joe Biden political ads. They obviously, before this happened, the Biden people are having a bad week domestic politics wise. They are spending tens of millions of dollars on these ads trying to make it better, and they've decided that it is not appropriate at the moment to run any of that stuff. And maybe that signals a change in the president's messaging to come, but it's too soon to know.
Yeah. You know, Peter, there's going to be a lot of questions in the days and weeks ahead. Certainly, we both agree with that. You heard Alexis's report, and Alexis talked about, okay, the shooter was outside of the perimeter, but it was adjacent to the area in which President Trump was speaking, and you have to wonder, how come that wasn't secured? How come somebody was able to get on that roof? I know a lot of people in the Secret Service. They're very good people in the Secret Service. I want to be fair to all of them. And we saw them act so quickly today, and we're so grateful for that. But certainly that is a question that will be asked in the days to come. As far as political rhetoric, being called evil in recent days, just yesterday Joe had ratcheted up his record. There'll be plenty of time to talk about all of that. And certainly that will be part of the political process because it's gotten out of hand. There's no doubt about it. You think the White House is taking a closer look at that tonight?
Well, we'll find out as soon as tomorrow. President Biden is supposed to resume some political travel. He's going to go, at least the schedule as of a couple hours ago, he's supposed to go to the LBJ Library in Austin, Texas to give remarks. And then he was going to go out to Las Vegas for a couple days to talk to various unions that are out there as he tries to stabilize his presidential campaign. If they start to pull those events down tomorrow for the week ahead, that would be a signal that things are really going to start changing. And to your point, Sean, about the Secret Service response here, when you go to an event like this, there are the Secret Service agents in suits like the ones that you see in this clip that we are running of the president being saved. But there are also a lot of Secret Service agents, they have counter snipers that go there. And their job is basically to figure out where a sniper would be at an event. They know where the podium is going to be, and they're using binoculars. They go to things like a adjacent rooftop a couple hundred yards away and make sure that the coast is clear. I'm not in Pennsylvania for this event, and so I don't know exactly what the protocol was today, but typically that is the kind of thing that you see. They do have contingencies in place to prevent exactly this. So it's very, very, something went very wrong with the preliminary planning of this event.
Yeah, especially because it was outside the perimeter, but very close to the venue and on a rooftop. Obviously, that would be one of the places I would imagine that they'd first be looking at. Peter Stenby, we'll get back to you throughout the evening tonight. Thank you. We appreciate it. Moments ago, former Attorney General Bill Barr, who has sometimes been at odds with President Trump, told Fox News Digital, quote, the Democrats have to stop their grossly irresponsible talk about Trump being an existential threat to democracy. He is not. Here now with reaction to the horrific events of the day, America's Newsroom co-anchor Bill Hemmer, along with fellow co-host and co-host of the Five, friends of mine, both Dana Carino. Looks like both of you guys are in Milwaukee tonight. There's two things that really stand out, and I did speak to somebody that was with the president in the hospital, and I can report this part, is that the president walked into the hospital. He was fine. He was in good humor, in good health. He had a full understanding of what he had just been through. One thing that a lot of people hadn't factored in is Altman that had jumped on him. And the other thing that the person noted in typical Donald Trump fashion, and I know him many years before he ever ran for president, is he got up and he wanted to show this audience that he was okay and he was going to still fight. Quintessential Trump in many ways, and you got to admire that spirit.
So I was on a flight on my way here to Milwaukee when all of this happened, and the guy behind me, I heard him start cursing, and I didn't understand what was going on and quickly caught up. So I've just landed, and so it's my first chance to comment. Thank God he is okay. I'm very, very upset for the supporters of him who were injured or even lost their lives. I do think that President Trump's instincts were absolutely incredible. He decided to show everybody that was there, not just, he knew in the moment that he was, all eyes of the world are on him. And he showed the world strength. And it was like watching a warrior president. And this country, obviously we have a lot of divisions. Obviously we have a lot of problems. There are probably 1,000,001 questions about how this happened, etc. But the other thing that he did, Sean, is his instincts were to thank the Secret Service. And I know just from my experience that that is always the thing that President Bush would say. And he, of course, put out a statement right away, calling it a cowardly act and thanking God that Trump was okay. And it's so good to hear that he walked into the hospital, but that his instincts were one, to fight, but also to thank the Secret Service. And there will be a huge investigation. But we also have a campaign ahead of us. Obviously, he is going to continue to fight. There will be maybe some changes that have to happen at these rallies in order to protect him. Because I was thinking, Sean, just 2 nights ago, Barron Trump, his 18-year-old son, was on stage with him. And I'm sure that the family is right now thinking, 1, we are grateful that he's okay. 2, he wants to continue to fight for the country. But 3, they must be extremely worried, Sean, and obviously have a right to be.
You have a little experience in this. Look, I'm not comparing at all what happened to President Bush, but you were there. It wasn't an assassination attempt in any way, but you were there that day, that moment, when not 1 but 2 shoes were thrown at then President Bush, and I think you got injured yourself in the process there, as he ducked this way and that way, and showed great agility at the time. Obviously not an assassination attempt, but it just shows when any go ahead, what?
I just said, you're right that it could have been. There was also another time on May 9th, 2006, I believe, in Tbilisi, Georgia, where it wasn't until afterwards that, as the deputy press secretary, I found out that there was a grenade that did not go off, that was just feet from where he was speaking. And by the grace of God, it did not go off. So it is very dangerous. And the other thing, Sean, I would say is that when I would ask President Bush about polarization in the country, he would remind me that when he graduated college in '68, the country was literally in the streets fighting each other. And he said, we have a long way to go until then. And of course, we had the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan. That seems perhaps a little bit different, but political violence we're not complete strangers to it, but this is new for our country. And it feels like the nation needs a circuit breaker. Like, we have to reset and restart, and I'm hoping that we can do that in the coming days.
And then, of course, we had the case of Gerald Ford as well. I mean, you bring in a lot of historical context, rightly so, in here. Ivanka Trump has just come out with a statement. Thank you for your love and prayers for my father and for the other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. I am grateful to the Secret Service and all other law enforcement officers for their quick, decisive actions today. I continue to pray for our country. Bill, this is not a story any of us ever want to cover about any president. This is not Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative at all in any way. But the rhetoric certainly has become hot and heated in the country, and there certainly is almost unbridled hatred on the hard left for President Trump. As we look forward to where you are in Milwaukee in the week ahead, do you see any potential changes? And I would expect we're probably going to see changes going forward as it relates to whether or not there are going to be outdoor events like this with President Trump. He loves to do his rallies.
Sean, is all great points, and a bit premature at the moment, but you're right about the rallies, and they'll be second guessed, and at some point the president will get back out there because, you just saw this tonight. I think 2 things immediately, then I'll come back to Milwaukee. I think the iconic images that America and the world are watching through this 2-minute and 30-second video clip is extraordinary. And all the still photographers, Sean, from these rallies, they're there in the front row, and they're looking up at the stage, they're looking up at the president at the time. And to see this history captured, and I don't know what he said when he came up from the podium, but we heard on the microphone, he said, hey, let me get my shoes, let me get my shoes. I think he said it 3 times.
Answer the call of the grill.
Spectacular catch.
I think he's saying fight. That's just me reading his lips. Fight a couple times. His instincts for the moment were to let that he's still standing. That's one point. The other point is this: this investigation already knows, whether they told us or not, that they can stand at that podium where that stage is in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they can look straight out at the rooftop of this building. Many people suspect, and based on what the Secret Service statement came out, that this was a shooter who came from outside the perimeter. You can, Sean, you can probably see a direct line 200 or 300 yards away where you need to be on the lookout. Now, Dana and I were discussing this interview that's circulating out there that the BBC has. Now, we have not spoken with this man, but he attended the rally, and he told the BBC that he saw someone on a rooftop. He told the police about it, and in his words, they did nothing. Now, that's his story. I'm sure that this gentleman right now is being interviewed by the Secret Service, by the FBI, and he's going to be a big part of this investigation. Let's see where that story goes. As for Milwaukee, Sean, I can tell you already, security's tight in downtown Milwaukee. They have an established perimeter, and we're 48 hours from this convention kicking off. Keep in mind, is one thing. The protests outside are another. So police, sheriff's deputies, the Secret Service, National Guard, they have to figure out a way to balance all of this and keep it safe in Milwaukee for the next. So we're getting some information about how many rounds were fired. None of it's been confirmed, but some of our colleagues are reporting this on other networks about an AR-style rifle, maybe 8 rounds fired. Maybe this shooter was up to 200 or 300 yards away. If you were to imagine that, based on what limited information we have, does that sound right to you?
It absolutely does. You know, the effective range of an AR is about 300 yards. And ever since 1963, the Secret Service is very concerned about anybody up on roofs. I saw some reports that people saw someone up on the roof, and if that's true, then the Secret Service has countermeasures to that. So there's a lot of questions to be answered right now. I will tell you it happens in split seconds. So 8 rounds from 300 yards, especially with, you know, the shooters, you know, actually striking at least a portion of the president, is very alarming.
Sir, thank you very much for your expertise on this historic evening and a day of tragedy for the family who lost their own loved one at that rally.
It absolutely is, and others that we understand, at least one, maybe others critically injured, and the folks there are forever shocked and scarred. And many who were watching this live in our country As we walk through this moment, we want to replay for folks who have not seen this start to finish, so you can see the reaction as the moment President Trump realizes something has gone very wrong. By his own account moments ago, he says he knew that he had to get down, that there was something terribly wrong unfolding. He heard the shots. We'll let you watch for yourself through the moments that you see this. When he lifts his fist, lets people know as he is hurried away by the Secret Service that he's going to be fine.
Take a look at what happened.
There's an electrified vehicle for everyone to fall in love with. Get offers on select models at the Lexus Golden Opportunity sales event.
Let me out there. What? This is just so exciting.
Hi, I'm Phil Coulthard. Welcome to Reality Check. Here in America, on assignment for News Nation. I've come here to Rocket City, Huntsville, Alabama, to the conference of the Scientific Coalition for the Study of UAPs. There are a bunch of scientists who believe it is possible to investigate the phenomena of unidentified anomalous phenomena. And they're going to hear me present the keynote speech this year at their annual conference. What could possibly go wrong? Here goes.
I want to thank you all and welcome you to Huntsville, Alabama. We got a great conference for you here over the next couple of days. And with that, I would like to now introduce our keynote speaker. I have a few words I'd like to say about this gentleman who has traveled a great distance from long, far away to be here with us this evening. I think most of you probably who have seen him on News Nation, you know a little bit about Mr. Ross Coulthard. Ross is a multi-award-winning investigative journalist and author with over 3 decades of experience in newspapers and television, including reporting for Australia's Sydney Morning Herald newspaper, ABC TV's Four Corners, the 9 TV networks' Sunday program, and 60 Minutes. He currently works as a special correspondent for News Nation, but he also contributes to the Australian 7 TV network's Spotlight Public Affairs program. Trained as a lawyer, and you'll see that that's plainly evident here soon when he begins speaking, he's covered wars, investigated corruption, scandals, and public interest stories for over 35 years as one of Australia's top investigative journalists, and really now also an international one. Ross is a 5-time winner of Australia's top journalism prize, the Walkley Award, including the highest award, the Gold Walkley, among other awards that he has received. The list is too long to go through them all here. He's a best-selling author of 6 books, including In Plain Sight, an investigation into UFOs and impossible science. In June 2023, Ross also interviewed a gentleman by the name of David Grush on News Nation, someone, of course, a name that's probably familiar to most of us here. And he now hosts a regular segment on the UAP topic there on News Nation. Last but not least, Mr. Coulthard. He's also a gentleman I consider a colleague. He's also a fellow member of the SCU. So please, without further ado, would you join me in welcoming Mr. Ross Coulthard?
Thank you very much, Micah, and thank you everybody for having me here. It's an honor, and frankly daunting, to be invited as a journalist to speak to a room full of scientists. You know, I'm expecting to be thoroughly peer-reviewed and skewered by the lot of you. But I also want to pay a special recognition to the gathering of government, industry, defence, military intelligence types, who I'm sure are sort of back there in the background. One of the things that I think makes this event very special is that it does offer a portal, a respected portal for that discrete nexus between the government, private aerospace, and the scientific community to talk about a topic that, despite overwhelming admissions from the US government, I mean, frankly, it's a lay-down misère that it's real, whatever it is, there's a there. It's a subject that's still treated with such ridicule and stigma. And I think the great thing about SCU is it's an organisation that represents an attempt by science to deal with the subject objectively and rigorously and to give it solid skeptical peer review. And that's what this should all be about. And as Michael acknowledged, as you would all know, I was involved in interviewing David Grush last year for the news network, News Nation, and Public. And he tells me he was here in 2022, very discreetly, up the back. And if there's anybody here in the audience from the intelligence community who wants to tell me where the TR-3B Aurora is in that particular cave in Area 51, I'll be at the bar later. It is very, very daunting sticking your head up and speaking about the UAP issue, because there is a hostile intolerance, a disdain in much of establishment science for the notion that the subject of UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena or aerospace phenomena, as Rich acknowledged, whether it should be taken seriously at all. My Aussie journalist mates and some more maliciously inclined folk took great delight in the fact that I was the unsolicited recipient of the 2023 Australian Skeptics Bent Fork Award for being supposedly the perpetrator of the most preposterous piece of pseudoscientific or paranormal piffle. And I'm proud of it. and this was all because the skeptics asserted dismissively I was claiming UFO conspiracies. Now, I want to deal with that in the course of today's address. Another lowbrow Australian newspaper tagged me as a UFO truther on the same basis, just a wee hint there that I'm a UFO nutter. Both fatuously smirking institutions made a very simple mistake. They didn't do any research at all before they made the criticism that many commentators have done on the UAP topic for decades. They defaulted to derision and ridicule on a subject that frankly no longer deserves that kind of treatment. There's a conga line of attention-seeking social media influencers and unhappy incels living in their mother's basement who spend their days trying to increase their likes and Reddit credits by attacking online anyone who takes this subject seriously. But I also think there's something more sinister going on, and this should be acknowledged. It's an official deception and manipulation going back decades. And establishment science, as well as the mainstream media and social media, have really no idea just how much they're being manipulated. 10 days ago, as many of you would know, Colonel Carl Nell, whose bio is formidable, ex-US Army Space Command, ex-Northrop Grumman, ex-Lockheed Martin, ex-Bell Labs, ex-multiple three-letter agencies, ex-deputy CTO for a $2 billion company, a former Reserve Army Brigade commander, a former senior advisor to the Vice Chief of the Army, a Deputy Chief of Staff to Combatant Command, the guy who advised Army Futures Command on the reorganisation of the Army Reserves, the biggest change since the 1970s. Formerly also with the Pentagon's UAP task force. He told a UAP investor crowd at the SALT conference, quote, "Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new and it's been ongoing. There are unelected people in the government that are well aware of that." And then he was asked by Alex Klokas, "How confident are you that this is true?" And quick as a flash, he was ready for that question. He said, "There is zero doubt." And his comments that were then backed by a retired US Navy Rear Admiral, Tim Gallaudet. And he said, quote, "I know he's correct with complete certainty. Why has society not taken this world-changing reality seriously? Partly because of a deliberate and systematic disinformation campaign by the US government, which has perpetuated the stigma associated with UAP. Like Carl Nell, I'm privileged to know both men, Tim Gallaudet is an exemplary former US military officer and public servant. He commanded the US Navy's Special Warfare Center. He was the superintendent of the US Naval Observatory. He served on the staff of the Chief of Naval Operations and eventually became the oceanographer for the Navy. In civilian life, he's been the acting Undersecretary of Commerce for the Oceans and Atmosphere and acting administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. Neither of these two well-respected individuals with many years of distinguished public service in our military are the kind of folk who recklessly propound conspiracy theories. So I think I'm in good company. And as they have done, I believe also that there is a non-human intelligence that's been engaging with this planet for a very long time. Implausible as it may seem to me, on the evidence that I've been shown by first-hand witnesses, I've been independently apprised of sufficient evidence to reach the conclusion that there is, as confronting as I find myself saying this, there is a very high likelihood that the United States and other nations, particularly China and Russia, have recovered NHI technology, non-human technology, including craft and biologics. Yes, aliens. And there is an ongoing secret Cold War to harness reverse-engineered scientific advancements from that technology. Big call, but what Carl says, what Tim says, I totally agree with it. And of course, the inevitable response from the critics, and it's understandable and quite reasonable to ask this question, is where's the evidence? On its face, asking for the public airing of evidence to back such an assertion about a secret UAP retrieval and reverse engineering program sounds perfectly reasonable. Just as the scientific method demands empirical evidence to prove any hypothesis, we all want to see the data to back these extraordinary claims. We all want to know every bit of detail about this alleged secret program. Why is it secret? Who oversees it? Who knows about it? Does the president know? What crimes, if any, are being done in America's name without Congress being properly informed? Are there agreements? Is the Admiral Tom Wilson memo authentic? Did the boss of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and two top Pentagon generals really tell Tom DeLonge, the rock star, it was the Cold War and we found a life form? I find it an incredible story. And the amazing thing is that whole saga is revealed in a WikiLeaks leak. Emails from a White House staffer recording the fact that senior Pentagon generals were having a conversation with a rock star prior to the Trump-Clinton election campaign discussing the possibility of disclosure. That's irrefutable evidence that requires investigation. And that's all I'm saying, I feel as a journalist, I'm obliged to do, to investigate it. If this is all true, it's indubitably a very cleverly kept secret. And as the gatekeepers well know, so much of that evidence, that data, is locked up in highly classified programs. Most of the people overseeing those programs, I know, have no idea what's behind it. And the trick of all, until recently, has been the way we've allowed ourselves to be so brilliantly deceived. The novelist Margaret Atwood once wrote, "The best way of keeping a secret is to pretend that there isn't one." And that's what I suspect unelected officials chose to do with what we will call, euphemistically, the program. They very deviously convinced opinion leaders in politics and the media and their shills on social media for years that there is no secret, that everyone's come forward and deluded themselves, or that they're lying, that they've dreamt up a cock and bull story about recovered alien technology, and for reasons best known to themselves, they're destroying their reputations by coming up and promoting a wacky conspiracy theory. Believe me, this is not good for your career. But clearly, the insiders advocating disclosure know something. They're not legally allowed to tell us about it. And even if they want to, they can't. And what most of the commentators also fail to understand is that it's not the general public that has to be convinced. The American public, frankly, at the moment is mostly irrelevant in this ongoing debate, except for the fact that you all vote. What matters most right now is that members of key oversight committees in Congress and the President and his National Security Committee wake up to the fact that this, where the full story of the program investigated and exposed. And that is starting to happen. As we all know, there's a new attempt that's just come out in the last day for a new UAP disclosure bill. It's
Sustainability and stewardship is a continuous path of improvements. You have to continually think of new and better ways to do things and not be afraid to try those things. And that's what we strive to do every day.
I feel a tremendous sense of responsibility. Everything that we do when we get up in the morning is pointing at making sure that we leave things better than we found them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, former President Donald Trump has just been shot at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We do not yet know the extent of his injuries. It is a completely out of control situation that we are learning about